the wonderful podcast TrueAnon hosts Liz Franzik and Brace Belden. Okay, they are. I guess they're no longer podcast hosts. They're like straight up. What's the term for? I mean, you guys are reporters now.
No.
You're journalists.
No.
We are not. We reject that label.
No.
We do not identify as such.
Yeah, no. I think you guys are doing some journaling.
There is no. We are. How are people sending me messages from this? No, we are. Listen, we are unlicensed private investigators.
Yeah.
We're not journalists. We're not journalists. I'm under no journalist code. There is no.
Oh yeah.
I don't have to pay dues to any weird WGA East or anything. We are here strictly as civilians.
Yeah.
We're just trying to get to the truth, the bottom of the matter.
Today on the podcast we just recorded, I talked shit about Vicky Ward's boots for no reason. So like we really don't have. You're not going to hear that on the New York Times.
Yeah, I mean you're a journalist, but you're like a truth-telling journalist. You're hitting avenues that mainstream media is too afraid to cover. Like
Frankly.
Vicky Ward's boots.
Well, I mean, the thing is, so speaking of cutting, so here's the thing. Prior to this trial starting, Ghislaine Maxwell, who, for those who don't know, Ghislaine Maxwell's family is fabulously wealthy and also connected to one of the longest lasting countries in human history, Israel. Her father, Robert Maxwell, was a notorious spy, but mainly worked for Mossad and was buried with state honors there after his mysterious death. Anyways, this guy's daughter, Ghislaine, is on trial. Her family, very wealthy, used to the finer things in life. And one of the big complaints about her being locked up in jail prior to the trial was A, she wasn't allowed a sleep mask, B, the food wasn't nutritious enough, and C, that everyone was so sort of rude to her. Which, I mean, yeah, conditions in American prisons and jails are very bad, but it is incredible that one of her main complaints was about sleep masks. And now her whole thing is her brother gave a press conference yesterday, the sole intention of which seemed to be to say that she is sick of having to eat hard-boiled eggs for lunch every day during the trial, which I didn't know. So she must be farting up a storm.
So you think they're gearing up for a Jeffrey Epstein style, assisted suicide play here? Because if you guys read the New York Times coverage, obviously, by journalists such as yourselves, that did the journaling there in the New York Times, when they talked about how Jeffrey Epstein certainly had killed himself because a friend of a friend, the uncle works at the old uncle works at Nintendo of prison confessions. The guy who worked at a kitchen overheard another guy say that he definitely killed himself, and also because he was in his fifis the entire time. He didn't like prison.
Case closed. Yeah. They got it.
Well, my thing with that is some of the evidence they seem to be using for saying he did kill himself was a bunch of statements of him saying, I'm not going to kill myself. Because they're like, look, he wouldn't say that unless he was lying. I think with Ghislaine, I don't think they're going to take Ghislaine out unless maybe they give her a bad boiled egg or something.
No.
Yeah. Well, from what I understand, the scope of this trial is also very narrow, right?
Mm-hmm. Well,
and that ultimately, the revelations aren't going to be as insane or as interesting from the point of view of the average American.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of people that maybe don't understand fully the ins and outs of the case or haven't really been tuning in except for like the blockbuster stuff, understandably. But they think that, okay, if we don't hear big blockbuster names about, all of the bunga bunga parties they were hosting and all the blackmail tapes and all of the crazy politicians that haven't already been named, like we've already heard names that we all knew before. Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, Prince Andrew. Those are all people who have come up in the trial already in the first week and a half. But the focus of the case isn't about that, like at all, and really is about the girls and the victims, And so the scope of the prosecution at least, like they don't want to have it be so wide that all of these like blockbuster crazy names are getting thrown around, because that's just going to like muddy up the jury's perception about what the case is really about, which is the abuse of young girls.
Yeah. Even though, we are hoping that there is some stuff, right? I mean, I don't know. Today was supposed to be the CDs. Like, I personally want to know what the fuck's going on with the CDs. Have you been able to figure out? Are you getting up close to the TV? Are they accidentally not able to, cover up some of the names? Like, what's going on?
Yes. Definitely getting real up close. Brace was basically doing a handstand trying to figure out what the upside down name that they didn't redacted that was written
And
in Sharpie on a CD was, and you
I
got
was
it.
right. I was right.
Yes.
I was correct. I was right. It was the name of his goddaughter, Selena.
Yes, which is
But
a bit
we will never
creepy.
obviously find out what's in the CDs, right? That's
So
not.
that's the whole thing is we found out yesterday that there were way more CDs full of pictures than we ever knew. And in fact, today we heard some hard numbers of how many images were on them. But we saw 13 just in one picture of evidence of 13 thick, like PhD, I'm going to
Like
learn
10-inch thick, big guys.
Princeton, Yale style binders of CDs. All of the spines redacted, but all of them filled with pictures, with photographs on these CDs. I mean, obviously, we're not going to see any pictures of Alan Dershowitz eating a baby, like chicken wing style, right? But they, today they started out with some people to identify some images, some FBI agents to identify images that were on the picture on the CDs, and honestly, mostly it turned out to just be Jeffrey and Ghislaine in the very few that they showed us.
We found out that the FBI estimated the girl, one of the special agents who was on the stand yesterday and today, estimated that there were about 38,000 photos. 38,000. That is so many photos. We saw 5, and they were just like vacation photos of Jeffrey and Ghislaine. There are not 38,000 photos of Jeffrey and Ghislaine. Like
Exactly.
these are very there's a very different set of photos on there
But I want to
that
know,
we're
like,
just not going to see.
but like, what everybody obviously wants to know is like, this is the blackmail folder, right? Is it not? I mean, that's the suspicion. Is that like there's cameras inside the house, as we all know, and that it's meticulously documented with the names of famous people. Um, I think there was some other additional details on there too. Like, obviously, this is not a case about Jeffrey Epstein. This is Ghislaine Maxwell and what her direct involvement was with Jeffrey Epstein. And as you, Liz, many times have mentioned in your coverage so far, it revolves around grooming, right? Which is not exactly a well-defined legal term. They're not going to get to the good stuff, is what you're saying. Other than justice being served, hopefully, which would be good.
I mean, in my opinion, just taking sort of the long view of things, it seems that if anyone was sort of running an operation, it would have been Ghislaine rather than Jeffrey, considering both her family's history and also Jeffrey was sort of a dope in a lot of ways. I mean, he could be like a smooth operator when he needed to be, but the man had notoriously his vices, whereas Ghislaine, I mean, her only vice was loving Jeffrey too much, but she seems to have, if anyone was really like pulling a huge blackmail operation, it seems like she would have had a really heavy hand in it. The thing is, like, we did find out that on these CDs is just images, as far as we know, just photographs. However, during the evidence, they showing us evidence from his house yesterday. They showed us a previously unknown, at least to any journalist or anybody but members of the FBI, huge like like kitchenware bin, like a giant plastic bin that like you keep under your bed.
Right?
KitchenAid?
Rubbermaid. Rubbermaid.
Rubbermaid bin of hard drives. Like hard drives are the kind where you would keep videos. But none of that, only a few things from a single hard drive were actually entered into evidence, and those were all just emails written by Ghislaine. What's on the rest of those hard drives, we have no idea, and we weren't given any indication because Jeffrey, I mean, think of it this way. This is a billionaire supposedly very rich man, at least, with more high society connections than you could shake a goddamn stick at, who is constantly having these very well connected business leaders, politicians, religious leaders over to his house at the same time as young girls that we know that he is having sometimes legal, sometimes illegal sexual liaisons with. It doesn't take a goddamn unlicensed private detective to figure out what the hell is going on there, right? I mean, that gives you a huge amount of leverage if you, for instance, have video of Prince Andrew doing something with a 14-year-old girl. You have a ton of power after that. Bill Clinton, any of these people. And it's like, we know that stuff's out there, but we're not going to see it during this trial. I mean,
will we ever see it? I feel like it's over. I mean, they tied up the ultimate loose end, right? Which is when there's no criminal trial over Jeffrey Epstein. I don't know what kind of what kind of opportunity victims may have to be able to, other than like the original fund that they set up for all of Jeffrey Epstein's victims. Other than that, they really don't have anything to be able to relitigate that. Or maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, I think the hope is really sending Ghislaine to prison, having someone take accountability for and like saying like this happened, we did this. I mean, I think at least for the victims, that's the hope, right? The money stuff aside, the fund and the way that it's dispersing his estate to victims, I think there's a couple pieces out about that. There's some that's been going on for a couple years now, or since 2020, I think. But yeah, I mean, it's really like, look, we haven't heard anything from Ghislaine. I think that she might take the stand, which would be pretty fucking insane. But everything in her demeanor and the way that she presents herself in the court, which is
Hassan, thank you
fucking
so much for
bizarre,
bringing
by
on
the way.
the
Yes.
Like, this girl is
the podcast.
like, she's getting up, she's laughing all of the time.
What the
She's like
fuck?
kind of like coquettish. Like, she has a very weird pose about her. The whole it's like anachronistic or something. It's
Yes.
very, very
Yeah.
weird. And everything that the way that she presents herself and the way that she's talked about her own defense or whatever, and the very limited comments that she's made, tells me that she literally does not think that she's done anything wrong ever. Whether
Yeah.
she thinks these girls are trash and like disposable, and I have no doubt in my mind that she thinks that, or whether it's literally that she thinks nothing bad, whether illegal or immoral, occurred. Like, I think it's a combination of both. And that is like completely psycho for me to understand, to try to wrap my head around.
One of the more interesting aspects of
Right.
being there for the trial is finally being around, and this I know probably sounds kind of weird, but being around other people who know this stuff inside and out.
Oh
And I'm not
yeah,
even just talking about
totally.
like journalist guy, because there's some journalists there who's like Epstein is their beat and they know a lot about him. There's a lot who are sort of just like, especially towards the beginning, less so now, who know less and are kind of just covering this trial as
Like
an
crime reporters or whatever.
Exactly. But there's been a few people that we've met that are just like, they know Ghislaine inside and out, and they have these sort of different opinions. Like, one gentleman we were talking to today is like, I honestly don't think that she thinks she did anything wrong. Like, I think that she was abused as a child. We do know she was abused as a child, whether she was sexually abused, we don't know for sure. But like, that like she like literally might think that like, well, it's actually fine for these children to do, which would track sort of with some of her statements that these kids have repeated, or that these adults, former kids, have repeated. But it's been really interesting to see the different angles that people are taking this stuff. We met this financial like guy who just like looks at Epstein's financials and is like obsessed with his financial stuff. And we have heard some new financial news about her. She got a lot more money from Epstein
don't know about
directly
the
than we knew
CDs,
about.
but
I
we
mean, we're
do know
talking
about
sums of like
CDs
tens of
nuts.
millions, maybe 30 million total, just in certain series of transactions that they showed us. And so there's a lot of money being floated around here. I don't think that any of her intelligence connections are really going to come up because A, that doesn't benefit the case. B, the prosecutor is James Comey's daughter.
Which
Yeah.
is so weird, by the way.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
James
she was
Comey's
like
daughter.
questioning an FBI agent. And it's like, girl, that was like your dad was her boss. Like, it seems
Yeah.
weird.
She's James Comey's daughter, and didn't she personally, or at least like her team, flubbed the original suicide tape, attempted suicide tape
Yeah.
of Jeffrey Epstein, and from what I understand, it's like long gone, and they just
Yes.
simply can't find it. No backup, by the way, as well.
Yeah. I don't know. That might have been the Bureau of Prisons. I'm not sure. I saw some stuff, but I actually didn't get into it about if they flubbed it. But they did. I mean, the FBI has repeatedly flubbed the Epstein case in general, going back to the 90s, having
Yeah.
people report
Oh
it to them.
yeah.
I mean,
The
it's
FBI had a separate lawsuit ongoing when Acosta basically gave him the
Yeah.
sweetheart deal that effectively shut the FBI deal, FBI
Yeah.
investigation down.
Investigation.
Yeah.
yeah.
And
It's-
we
I mean-
heard
How
today,
curious.
like, the raid on Epstein's townhouse, which happened in July 2019,
Oh yeah.
was a total disaster. I
Have a
mean, they
great
got a
day,
lot of
John.
stuff,
Right.
but apparently, I didn't know this. And I mean, this was like really shocking when we found this out. So they enter the townhouse, they come in with a saw. It's like a whole fucking thing. And they have a warrant and they're pulling all this evidence. This is where the binders of CDs come from. Now they get to one of the many bathrooms. By the way, we found out there are 40 rooms in this townhouse. 40, which feels excessive. They get to the bathroom, one of the bathrooms, and they find a huge safe. Now, that safe comes out, they pull open that safe. We find, and this was reported at the time, binders, passports, diamonds, I don't know, manila envelopes full of cash. Like, it's a little unclear. Apparently, and this is what we found out during the trial, the warrant that they had that day didn't allow them to seize the items in the safe. Now, when that happens, because sometimes you have like a narrow warrant and you have to wait, whatever. Usually, what happens is you post up somebody with this next to the stuff to make sure that nothing gets moved, and you preserve the kind of chain of evidence, provenance, whatever. That didn't happen. Instead, they come back 5 days later with a warrant. They leave the premises and come back, and they're like, "Okay, we're here for the stuff." And the townhouse is like, "Oh, we don't have that stuff actually. That's so weird. But Jeffrey's lawyer can bring it to you in 2 suitcases."
I mean, this is astounding. You get
Okay.
you get a fucking warrant to raid this guy's house, and then they took all of the stuff out of the safe and photographed it like around the safe.
Like in
Unfortunately,
a pile.
the photo was very low res,
Oh my
and so
God.
you couldn't exactly make out all of it. But we know what was in it. I mean, we know there was an Austrian passport, at least multiple passports, but we know about an Austrian passport with his home listed as Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. This guy has all of this. I mean, this is his goddamn safe, or at least one of his safes. And I don't understand the type of warrant that allows you to take every single other thing from his house that you want, but you can't take the contents of a safe that are identical. Because we're talking about there's binders of CDs in there. They took binders of CDs from shelves in other closets, but they can't take it from the safe. And so his lawyer brings back these suitcases full of all this stuff, and they're like, "Well, I guess it's all here." Well, you didn't look on the CDs, so you might have seen that there's CDs in this binder. You don't know what's
what if
on
that's the
them.
good stuff, like the actual, serious blackmail stuff?
Exactly. And there's hard drives in there too. And it's like, so, his lawyer could have just replaced those CDs with any, 5 days later. That's great.
Yeah.
You know how many CDRWs you could rewrite in 5 days? Also,
Or just put a bunch of like Offspring CDs in there and be like, I don't know, it's just
exactly,
like his
like,
favorite.
this is Young. He loved Young Thug. He kept it in his safe. Like,
I think the real problem with that isn't necessarily that that they took, I guess, 5 days, but like why did they get such a narrow warrant and not one that would also would cover locked things? I feel like you're gonna
or
have
Leave someone on the premises while you go get the warrant. That's usual, like that's like normal practice by the FBI. You post up an officer until they go get the warrant, they go to the courthouse, then they come back and they're like, "Okay, we have it, now we can take it." You don't just leave and let someone and you say well, we'll see you soon. Don't do anything that we wouldn't do.
'Cause that destroys
It's like,
chain of custody, right? Like ultimately, so
yeah,
it's over.
oops, honor system, Scouts honor.
Exactly. I mean, okay. Oh, so the international sex trafficker's lawyer took the stuff away and he's giving it all back to you. Exactly. It's like, give me a goddamn break. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And by the way, Epstein's lawyers, while he was in jail, were bringing in girls, like 19-year-old legal assistants who carried no briefcases or anything with them, and left them alone in a locked room with Jeffrey Epstein that police did not enter. You know, he's meeting with his legal team. And like Jeffrey Epstein was having sex with teenage girls, legally teenage, above 18, but teenage girls while in jail.
Wait,
For
this is the
Christ's sake.
Manhattan one, or are you talking about like in Florida?
Palm Beach.
In Manhattan. No, this is in Manhattan. They were doing
Wait.
this in Manhattan.
We know for a fact that was in the Florida prison where he did that regularly, or also could
Oh,
leave.
yeah.
But I did not know
yeah.
that he could do that in Manhattan as well. So yeah, that only further proves that he was just not trying to kill himself. He probably thought he was protected.
Exactly. I mean, the man is obsessed with sex, like to a degree that would make even the horniest, man walking blush. And he's
Like a
still
fatty
the
liver
thing
to
is-
the gourmand.
Exactly, precisely, like a jar of caviar still at his fingertips, and he's being delivered this by his lawyers. And also, speaking of the gourmand, his lawyers would also piss off everybody else by just literally buying out the vending machines and giving him all of the candy, like hundreds of candy bars every time they came to the jail.
Not how you make friends in jail.
I'm just saying, it seems like he's, well fed, well rested. He was getting his sex in, away from his 30-year-old girlfriend.
Exactly.
Really able to do
Yes.
that. She could call her too without the Manhattan Correctional facilities monitoring, as we know now. So
Well,
That's why
interestingly
the
enough,
New York Times reporting was so weird. The piece you brought up, because they basically said that everything that changed for him was because he got denied bail. And it's like, what? But people get, there's multiple appeals for bail. It makes absolutely no sense that would, his entire outlook on his future would suddenly flip, and he would just be like, well, time to go. It's
you know
over.
what was really suspicious about that article as well? A suspicious lack of coverage around Nicholas Tartaglio, his previous cellmate, and that the Epstein team had personally stated, Jeffrey Epstein personally stated that no, he had not actually tried to kill himself, but this hulking Italian man, ex-cop, who is who was in prison for murdering 4 people in a drug deal gone bad.
Yeah, execution
Buried
style
bodies
murdered.
in his yard.
Exactly.
Yeah, that guy who had a mobile phone in that prison, by the way.
Yes, he
That
did.
guy was his cellmate, and Epstein said that guy was trying to kill him, and it wasn't a suicide attempt at all. And yet, that was not a part of the New York Times article. I wonder why they just didn't mention that, even though they did cover the whole first suicide attempt as a suicide attempt. At the very least, they could have just mentioned it.
I mean, I just don't understand why they would take at face value something that we have been shown that there's the Bureau of Prisons is clearly rife with liars and and corrupt officials, and also his fellow prisoners are just to be who knows what incentives these people were offered. I mean, it's the thing is, it doesn't make a lot. I've been to jail. It is hard to tear a bedsheet in jail because guess what? They think you're gonna hang yourself. They take your fucking shoelaces, man. They thought about this kind of stuff, and so I don't know. It seems totally ridiculous to me. The weird thing is that not weird, but that the last person he called his final sort of girlfriend, he had forced or made, or it's kind of unclear, her marry another girlfriend of his, and she was actually at the courthouse, I think last Tuesday or something. And so it's been a lot of there's been a lot of victims and people connected to the case also just at the courthouse, which has been really something to see.
Did you know that he had a sleep apnea machine in his cell?
Yes.
Yeah.
With a cord?
Yeah, which
That's
is
what, yeah, it's Why not use the cord?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was ripping his bed sheets, I guess.
Also, why not just unplug the sleep apnea machine and die of whatever those things cure?
Yeah, but that's not a 100%.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
you
you
could
don't
like get a
always
lot of
die.
sleep.
You just choke a little bit. Like,
Yeah. But I mean, there's a lot of nights ahead of you. I know it doesn't. It makes
oh, he had
zero
pills.
sense.
He had pills in his cell too. He had his own pills.
Mhm.
Yes, did.
There's a lot
Here's
of.
the thing.
It almost felt like they were like,
trial.
"Come on, just kill yourself. Come on,
He-
you're in a bad
also,
situation, right?"
You've seen the pictures of the cell. I mean, my God, how many fucking sheets did that guy have? Looked like a goddamn Klan rally in there. I mean, the guy had like 50 pairs of bed sheets in his cell. And the thing is too, like, listen, you want to take yourself out in jail, you can get also like you can get knives, you can get, at least
Yeah,
I know in San
totally.
Francisco City jail, you
Totally.
can get drugs, like it's totally ridiculous.
Yeah. It just is really suspicious. And but there were a lot of people. 10% of my audience, I polled it after the New York Times article came out. 10% of my audience was now saying that no, Jeffrey Epstein definitely killed himself, dude. You just simply don't understand it. But maybe they were trolling. I don't know. It
I
blows my
remember
mind. But I guess now enough time has passed that like people just don't care. People straight up do not care. Other than you guys, the brave journalists that are, defending the truth out there. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I mean, Liz, do you remember like the reason, like the way we started the podcast is Liz and I were just on the phone talking about it. And like, I mean, I feel like it's hard to kind of remember fully now, but like that feeling of like, holy shit,
does
the
Hasan
curtain is
love
getting
you in
pulled
chat?
back. Like, like we are actually seeing somebody we know this stuff happens, but we are seeing like the guy that does it in like, kind of caught in 4K, as they say. And like, I mean, Liz, that was like an insane time period. I mean, we died.
yes.
What?
Well, we recorded the first episode and we were like, wouldn't it be funny if I think it was with Matt Christman and he was like, we were talking about it. There's like no way that he's gonna die. Like they're not gonna kill him. That'd be too crazy. And that was like 3 episodes later. It was like emergency podcast. He's dead. The
I
whole
remember.
thing was nuts. Yeah, but you're right about it feeling like you get a little peek, but then Hasan, you're also right because it's like whoop, curtain closed. It's like you get a little peek, but then it feels like nope, keeping it nice and tight.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now with with the Ghislaine trial, now it's become just like a trial of this sex trafficker. But well, besides Epstein, who might she have been trafficking these girls? It's like a pimp without Johns, right? Like who
Yes,
is she actually
totally.
trafficking these girls to? And it's like that's a big question that stands out here, but that's not a question that's really being asked about. I mean, that's part of our thing is like we're trying to keep a lot of the focus on like the trial itself, but also like really who is this person and like what was the goal of the project that she was engaging in with Jeffrey
Yeah.
Epstein.
And also like this trial, like yeah, it needs to be put in a certain context because it's just one, it's not a final piece. It's one small piece in a much larger puzzle that needs to get really worked out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how does this
5 months of
like
radical
how does this
communism.
get resolved in
Epstein
your
didn't
eyes?
unalive
Honestly, I
himself.
mean, it
I'm
does seem
developing a
like
nice
it could go either
parasocial
way. I mean,
relationship with the
it's
goat
I
with
think it's
this stalker.
slanted against
Bloggers.
Ghislaine because of how much information is out there with respect to like Jeffrey Epstein. Now, it can't be too hard to pin a lot of Jeffrey Epstein's crimes back to her, considering that like they were in a relationship, especially if the prosecution is both simultaneously trying to claim that like Ghislaine was a lover to Epstein, but not for long, but then was an employee. But then as an employee, it's still very obvious that she was sleeping in his bedroom with, photos of them
Mhm.
kissing all around the house. So it's like really like, I don't really understand what the play of the defense is here. Because are they just like trying to overwhelm and confuse, like hitting
Yes.
every angle? It doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Yeah, they're definitely trying to kind of throw anything they can to just muddy the waters. And like any juror, whatever will stick in their mind as a like, well, maybe, that's what they want. And so they're trying a bunch of different stuff. We've talked about it, like the classic slut shaming that they're doing to the victims, which is just really like cartoon, like almost
Yeah,
cartoonishly, the way that
exactly.
they're going at these girls, or they're who are now women, grown women, is really awful and really just disgusting and depressing to watch.
Yeah, while
And, things
simultaneously,
like challenging memory and, ideas about how memories are formed or shaped in the brain, all that kind of bullshit, academic bullshit. So they're trying like all sorts of things. I think they're also, to be honest, trying a lot of things so they can try to get a mistrial.
Mm.
oh, okay.
Because
Yeah,
that might be I don't know, Brace, I don't know how you feel, but I think that the prosecution's case is, at first I didn't think this, but now I do. I do think it's pretty strong.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the witnesses are very strong, and I don't really know what the defense has to come back with other than smearing their reputation.
while also simultaneously trying to paint a narrative that Ghislaine was also victim to these white men, these powerful white
Mhm.
men. So that doesn't make sense either. On the one hand, you're like, oh,
No.
Ghislaine is a girl boss and she is a victim, but then also the same person is like literally turning
Yeah.
around and telling victims of sex trafficking, like child victims of sex trafficking who are now adults, that they're sluts and only in it for the money.
Interesting, right? I mean, it feels like that is the only angle they could play. But then I guess this goes back to my point about me thinking that she doesn't think she did anything wrong, which is that the one card she had when he died was for her to come out and be like, "Hello, I'm Ghislaine Maxwell. I was a victim of this man. I was afraid to come forward. Now he's dead." Something, whatever, lie, whatever. But they didn't do that. She ran away. She fled. She was like hiding out in her little cabin in New Hampshire. And now it seems like they're really like hesitant to put that kind of narrative forward because I think she's insanely narcissistic. She
Yes.
thinks of herself as above all of these women who she thinks of as low class trash, no matter whether they're models and actresses or young, they were 12-year-old girls in fucking Florida, drug addict homes or whatever. Like, she thinks of them, all of these girls, as disposable. She's referred to them that way, and she thinks she did nothing wrong. And I literally, I mean, that's the only thing and the only approach that would make sense to somehow making her sympathetic with a jury, and they're not doing it. And it's got to be because of her own fucking hubris.
I'm fully in agreement with that. I mean, and this is why Liz thinks she's going to take the stand too.
I
I'm less
do.
certain, but I always defer to Liz in things in her womanly intuition.
She's gonna
Which
Jesse, man.
Jussie,
Jesse
I
took the
didn't.
stand too.
Oh, I believe me, I know, and you know what? As the founding member of Journalists for Jussie, I support him. He's innocent, and those guys are lying. It is cool that he did say he hooked up with one of the dudes, and the dude was like, "That's fucking so not true." It's like, yeah. But he
I love
so
that you're paying attention to the real trial of the
Oh, we
century
Oh,
gotta.
while
bro,
simultaneously covering this for like 8 hours a day.
you don't think that immediately? No, dude, first of all, it's like 13-hour days, and then phone
Yeah.
immediate. Like I'm not looking at it all day. Power that bad boy up,
No,
Jussie.
Jesse
What's going on
watch.
with
Yeah,
Jussie?
no, he's
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, even
Um.
the original what's the original district attorney or whoever it was that dropped his
Yeah.
case is like straight up still on the attack, saying that he is like, you know, she did what
Yeah.
she had to do or something. I don't know what is. It's such a ridiculous, like it wasn't even like well put together. It
No,
doesn't
No.
make sense.
it's gonna make a great movie in like a year. Some
Yeah.
asshole's gonna make it into a movie.
I'm going to make it, and then I'm going to get Jew bashed and be like, listen, I need $10 million more dollars for this movie. No, but with Ghislaine, it's I don't know. I think she is like the defense is going to introduce every single ex-boyfriend, jilted lover, former
Yeah.
assistant that didn't like them, coworker that they were rude to one time. Every single
Bartenders that saw them wasted,
exactly. They
partying,
already telegraphed that they
laughing.
were going to put that in.
Yeah.
And it's like at the end of the day, you got to think it's like what will convince a jury is like I mean, frankly, I think every single girl that has testified so far has had extremely compelling, extremely realistic testimony. None of them were like, yeah, it was with an alien or anything like that. They were like, this is what happened. And like, none of their stories are at all out. I mean, granted, Liz and I, have been following this for a long time and we know some of the stories of these people already. And obviously we, believe them. But like, a jury is going to see this, I think, and like I don't know, I don't exactly know what strategy Ghislaine's team can really go with here because all of the different directions they've tried to go in so far, it's like at the end of the day, you got to pick one, and I'm not sure what one they can go with.
Yeah, why not all of them? Well, I mean, you guys originally said that the prosecution was, I guess it was Liz's take, but you said that the prosecution was like a little like Jim Comey's daughter was a little, not very charismatic. Do you still feel like the prosecution is not doing well, or do you feel like that changed now? Maybe they're just riding on the victims though, like the testimony of the
Still
of the
don't
wit-
find I don't find them very charismatic still,
No,
but they're very competent. I'll give them that. There's one lawyer on Ghislaine's team who I do not think I think he's an okay lawyer, but he's the most frustrating man. We sat through 5 hours of cross-examination from him, and the jury, I'm telling you, like, I wasn't in the courtroom, but our buddy was, and he was talking to me about how the jury was responding to this, and he said they looked like their eyes were glossed over, they weren't paying attention, that he had totally lost them because he was just so slow moving and frustrating. And this girl, I mean, he was cross-examining one of the victims, and at one point she was like crying hysterically, and you're just like, what are you watching this like this large man with a huge mustache who's like going on for 3 hours demanding her like answer stuff about certain dates and certain things, and I don't know how successful it is. I really don't, because I
yeah,
think that she came off extremely sympathetic, even if some of her testimony contradicts previous testimony. I don't think it's that big of a deal, to be honest. I don't know.
yeah, I agree because it's like, all right, well, what is more compelling to this jury? This woman giving this extremely forward, like straightforward, concise, moving, and extremely like realistic to somebody who doesn't know much about this, right? Account of what happened to her, or this guy being like, well, it says you said 14 years ago in a lawsuit that actually you were at a party when this happened, but you were actually just at a part or like you were hanging out with 4 people only. Like that's not gonna like those kind of. I mean, the thing is about trials is that like if there's ever past testimony, people contradict themselves in small ways, sometimes in big ways, a lot, right? Like the nature of memory, which is going to be, I think, a much more. I mean, there's gonna be a lot of experts brought in from Ghislaine's side, especially this one woman. Which we will do an episode on, the Mademoiselle Loftus, who is basically you get her, if you've ever raped anybody, you get her to be your expert. I think it's Liz. I'm starving and very tired, so I think it's Elizabeth Loftus. Yes, it is because I know
This is
somebody with
her
the last name Loftus.
specialty is like smearing rape
Wines
victims.
Weinstein, Cosby, going back to like the 80s. I mean, all the satanic panic stuff. I mean, she is like the lady you get, and they got her basically to say like, people's memories are false a lot of the times. But I mean, I don't think even with that, you have 4 different girls up there testifying. We've heard from 3 so far. You have a lot of corroborating testimony from other people who were there. We still don't know who the next witnesses are going to be, to corroborate what we heard today and Annie Farmer, the final victim. And I just don't see like, okay, yeah, maybe they were smiling and laughing sometime. It doesn't matter if you smile, you're still being sex trafficked. Like it's still a crime to move this girl, this child from one state to another in order to exploit her sexually, even if she's bragging about it to her friends. Like, it doesn't matter if how she acted out, like, this traumatic situation. She might not even know it's traumatic at the time. People react in so many different ways to things, but at the end of the day, it is still a very much a crime to have done this stuff. And so that's the thing to keep in mind too. It's like, yeah, okay, they can contradict themselves, they can bring in ex-boyfriends, they can even brag that, about it to anybody. It doesn't matter. Like, it's, I mean, it might matter slightly to the jury, but legally it doesn't matter. She still did it. And I think that they're showing pretty well that she did do a lot of this stuff.
And at that point, I suspect what they're going to tie it all together with is, of course, the age-old libertarian argument of age of consent laws
Mm.
and how I guess like some of this stuff is happening in New Mexico,
Mhm.
where the age of consent is what? Is it
Yes.
16?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that then all of a sudden it's like entirely, it's an entirely different conversation where it's like, oh, if it did happen, was it really illegal though? Like,
Right.
Exactly.
they were into it. Plus, look at them smiling in this photo, and also it wasn't even illegal, even if it did happen.
Exactly.
That sort of thing.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of age of consent talk.
Yeah. Which, of course, is every libertarian's wet dream.
Yes,
Um,
totally. We're gonna be there every day. So it's funny, all these people keep commenting and they're like, wow, keep it up. I can't believe you guys are doing this. You're not gonna do this the whole time, right? And it's like, no, we're here. We're covering this
You're
trial.
gonna
We're
do this the
here.
whole time. You're gonna literally be there for like if it takes months. You're gonna be there
It's
every
not
day.
gonna take months. It's not gonna take months. In fact, the prosecution announced today that it's resting on Thursday, which is pretty
Oh,
Which is,
crazy.
yeah.
So it's moving quickly, but they originally said 6 weeks. But yeah, we're gonna be there.
goddamn.
We're covering the whole thing. Gavel to gavel, baby. We
Yeah,
learned
I'm waiting for
that's
Brace to
the
come back so we can go
term.
shoot guns. That's what we were supposed to
Yeah,
do like a while
I
ago.
know, but you can't even have a gun in New York. It's ridiculous. I keep asking the marshals of the courtroom if I could borrow one of theirs, and I mean, the guy did let me hold it and pop off a few in the
I think
hallway,
one of the
but
guys would let me. They
I bet
like
they would
me.
let you hold the gun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they really like me.
I reach for it, but I never grab.
So what's up? Are you guys tight with the marshals? You're pro
There's one
cop
that I'm cool with for sure.
because
He's
marshals
cool.
are.
He's nice. He was talking to me today and he was like, "Oh, I don't think that lawyer did a good job." And I was like, "You guys pay attention to these?"
Well, it's funny because some of the marshals are like kind of like snoozing and like checking their phone
Yeah, yeah,
surreptitiously.
yeah.
But today, the marshal was just like hands on the fucking banister, like watching it. Because the thing is, Epstein's famous, right? Like,
Yeah,
I,
totally.
I like it is like a. I mean, obviously, these guys work at SDNY. A lot of really big cases are tried there. But like, this is one of the things where it's like, even if you're not really like, you don't really care about like El Chapo or whatever, because he got tried either at this one or in Brooklyn, but he got tried in SDNY. Um, like these guys like know, they know who Epstein is, and so it's like they're talking about Jeffrey. Like some of them are really watching it, but they are some are cool. Some are I've had
Very
struggles
I'm gonna
with some.
say that they are like look like little cartoon characters of New York guys.
Yes, every
Like
single
if
one has a
I'm
thick
surprised they don't
accent.
have Yankees hats on. You know what I mean? They've got that vibe for sure. Long Island Yankees fans.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Is people want to know in the chat, and this is like a constant question coming in.
Uh-oh.
Why is Ghislaine Maxwell Protestant when her
Oh my god,
father
people are
was
asking?
Jewish? What evidence do you
I can
have,
answer this.
sir?
What evidence do I? What don't I have? I'm like literally looking for this book
Sorry,
right now
you're in the
where I've
hot seat now.
highlighted
Yeah.
passages. Oh, I'm in the hot seat. I
You
think
thought
she'll
this
be in
was
the
going to
hot
be like
seat.
an Andrew Cuomo, Chris Cuomo situation? Absolutely
No,
not.
she's going to be in the hot seat, and by that I mean hell, which Protestants and not Jews go to or can go to, not necessarily go to. No, so here's the deal, right? All right, so she's Jewish, I'm Jewish, and so I have a bit of well, obviously invisibly so, but the thing about Judaism, right? They'll tell you, and I don't really subscribe to this too much, but it is in Jewish law. It's it's passed down matrilineally,
True.
right?
This is true.
Ghislaine's mother, Betsy, was her little pet
Bessie.
name. Betsy is a descendant of French. Well, she's French. Her father, a
Yuck.
papist, a Catholic. Her mother, a Huguenot. And I have in my backpack, which is beyond my reach right now, so I cannot grab it, and there's too many wires in the way. I'd knock over the microphone. I have in my backpack highlighted passages from her mother's autobiography written after her father's death, which say that her mother's religion is French Protestant or French Huguenot Protestant. Huguenot's a complicated history there, but basically French Protestants. And her other son, I believe it's Philip, she names, is also a Protestant. However, he's an Anglican. Now, I hear you saying, like, Brace, isn't Christina and Isabel, the two twins that are also Maxwell siblings and Ghislaine's sisters, aren't they Jewish? Okay, yes, they are. Yes, they are. Yes, one lives in, I believe Christina lives in Israel. Yes, Isabel did help her father sell Israeli spyware, the promise via the company Information on Demand to many different countries. Yes, they are. However, Ghislaine, I have also heard from some elderly Epstein experts at this trial, specifically does not identify as Jewish. And there is absolutely no proof that she does. And I will swear to you, prove that she is not.
I think
She's
you
a
just
Protestant.
did.
Where did it? Yeah, I mean that was pretty good. Where I don't even know how this started. Who said she was?
Oh my god, this is the only thing that Brace has talked about
Not
for
the
the
only
entire
thing.
trial. Every day he's like, "Do you know she?" I was like, "You told me this yesterday." Yes.
Do you know what it's like being Jewish, Liz? No, you don't. You don't know what it's like, okay? And let me tell you something.
Brace and
You're a
Sarah
guy like me.
Silverman both are tired of Jew face.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, listen, if I was her, I'd be a little tired of Jew face too, if you know what I mean. But I see, every day I wake up, I log on to the computer. I search Hollywood sex scandals, and I see another one of our guys.
Why are you searching that every day?
I don't know. See if there's any new ones. You search it bi-weekly? I'm searching that every day. Hollywood sex scandals. And I see these names pop up on my screen. And I got to tell you, as a Jewish man, it's not great for us. It's not great. It has not pedophilia. I'm telling we're talking Harvey. We're talking Woody. We're talking Jeffrey. We're talking Leslie. I mean, there's so many. And
I mean, it's not like Philip Roth did you any favors.
he didn't do us any favors. No, Philip Roth. Oh boy, I wish he was Protestant so he could be talking to Satan right now. But no. So I am like, all right, I'm sick of this. I'm sick of these wacko people being like Jewish pedophiles, blah blah. I'm like, wrong, bitch. She is a fucking Protestant pedophile.
Yeah.
Also, any Catholics out there, I'm doing you guys a solid too. So I want you to remember that if hell does turn out to be real.
Protestants
That's
are
true.
like fucking freaky as fuck though too. Those are like some
They
scary
rarely
people.
ever get flagged though. I mean, technically, you have evangelicals.
Protestants?
I feel like
Yeah.
when you
Somehow
think about
everyone forgets
pedophilia.
the KKK are a bunch of Protestants.
No.
Yeah.
That's why I just said white evangelicals,
yeah.
right? Like I totally agree with you, and yet the meta is always like, oh, look at the Catholic Church or the anti-Semitic.
To be fair, we should look at the Catholic Church.
Oh, for sure. But I'm just saying, like, it's always
Yeah.
Beautiful architecture. Yeah.
yeah. It's always Protestants always escape the
Yeah.
pedophile accusations.
Not from me, brother.
Yeah, exactly.
Not from me.
No,
You guys are pretty. You Muslims. I feel like. Are you Muslim?
I am, yes, but not
You
like
guys
a
are-
good one. Like I'm like
Yeah,
as Muslim as you're.
brother.
Yeah.
I know. Listen, I understand. You're kuffar.
I am.
But-
Yeah, I do all of the sins. I do every type of haram possible.
That's all right.
Except for
Um,
usury, weirdly enough. That's
You
the
can't do usury.
no.
That's art. We do usury.
No, that's literally the only thing I don't do is like use. I don't even, I don't have a credit card even.
Oh, brother, no, I can get you in. I've just been doing micro loans. I did find out actually that my grandfather, Jewish man, okay, I always thought he ran a pawn shop in San Jose my whole life. My dad told me a couple years ago. I was like, no, he was a loan shark. He called all the money he had because he and my grandma moved to Palm Springs in this like Jewish community home, and when like they're old. And my grandfather had all this cash that he called his kosher money because it wasn't taxed because he had loan sharked
Oh
it.
my god.
Interestingly enough, Ant became Orthodox after that. So who knows?
Wow. Wait,
Yeah.
you can do that?
I'm in the parlance of this platform, I am not capping right now. You can
I
just
did-
loan people money at
No, I know
insane
that.
interest
I didn't
rates.
realize you could just like go. No, I wasn't talking about the loan sharking. You could just like turn it up and be like, I'm Orthodox now.
All you gotta do is pop on the wig, baby.
That's
I
it.
honestly don't know. I lost contact with her, and then she turned up to be Orthodox. So I don't know. I'm too afraid to get back in contact.
It's like, I guess it's like the born agains. You know what I mean? They probably ride or die way harder. I mean,
Yeah,
when you're Orthodox,
yeah.
you're literally riding or dying way harder, regardless. But
Oh my God.
yeah.
Yeah. I always try to give them the nod here because it's New York. There's a lot of Orthodox Jews. Never get a nod back. Never. I get like a desultory glare sometimes.
Orthodox from the Orthodox Jews.
Yeah, but I'm kafar to them, so it's like
Yeah.
yeah.
I feel that. Yeah. Okay. Well, this was great. Anything else you guys
Thank
want
you
to
for
talk
having
about?
us.
I don't know.
I mean, look, we're tackling the real issues. Brace talked about pedophilia and its prominence
Yes.
in
In
famous
Judaism.
yeah.
No.
no, the opposite. Wow, look, she's coming
opposite?
at you again.
Oh,
I'm a
I now
journalist. I gotta
understand.
frame the
eight-
stories. I gotta
She's
reframe
8
the
feet
stories.
away from me in another room, and I believe
Yeah.
me, if you don't think I'm gonna come out of here charging like a damn bull.
Well, you don't have a gun
We're in
anymore.
Brace's
So.
funny Airbnb in Chinatown, which the roof broke this afternoon.
I'm
by the
in
way.
a tenement. Yeah, all the water fell. A bunch of I had to leave the court early because my ceiling fell in with water and that's like really wet. It also yellow, but it's not piss.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I don't know, brother. Only
How
in
did
New
you
York.
find the one place?
Crazy.
I
I
don't
know
know.
he's President Chaos. It follows him. He
I'm in a
creates
tenement.
it. It's
I'm in a
dialectic.
tenement. Yeah.
Where you go, chaos follows. You bring it, it comes for you. It's both.
Brace tackled two important issues today. Ghislaine Maxwell is 100%, without a doubt, not Jewish. Okay.
Yes.
Mhm.
And also, Orthodox Jews are gatekeeping Judaism from Brace specifically.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
fucked up.
I'm more Orthodox than they am.
Yeah.
The child of or the grandchild of loan sharks. That's the most Orthodox you can get.
All right.
Technically, it has to be your grandmother, though.
Wait for.
No.
No. Oh, okay.
No.
I thought you. Okay.
Little call-back. Just a little fun callback.
Oh, okay. I thought you were being serious. You guys are. You know.
I just go seriously anti-Semitic, just shockingly.
You are
anti-Semitic.
Polish. Do not.
Hey.
Hassan's gonna get banned.
Oh yeah.
No.
True.
No. Is that
True.
a
Got,
thing?
yeah.
What,
For having Polish people
anti-Semitism?
on? Oh.
Big tech.
Big tech censorship. Yeah.
Oh
That's the
my
only thing
God.
stopping me from saying slurs all the time.
Well, they don't want the Poles speaking out. And once you heard Polish, you won't either.
It's cute. I didn't mind that one.
That's pretty good.
It's a funny language. It's
It's
very weird.
You're gonna get.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Sounds like Russian. You can't even do an impression of Polish. It
I'm
sounds so
gonna-
weird.
I'm from though. That's Liz and I are both ancestrally. That's where we're from. So this is.
Oh, I can say whatever the fuck I want.
Franzak? Give me a
Yeah,
break.
fine. Franchek? Yeah. No.
Franchek? I mean,
Also,
the ladies.
yeah. No.
Yeah,
I'm
no.
good.
The one group of people that you can't make fun of on this platform or in general in my community is Polish people. They get very upset.
Really? I'm
Oh,
one
yeah.
of them, though. I don't get upset.
She is Polish, and my family's from the Polish-Ukrainian border, which means we're Jewish, but possibly some Poland there.
Yeah, I feel that. Okay. Well, I just wanted to say, I've been getting very excited every night for you guys' coverage, and I feel like you guys are doing a great job. You're my favorite journalist now, for sure.
Oh no.
Yeah.
You sure you want to shoot guns back in LA? Hassan?
Yeah, I'm down. But yeah, no, you guys have been doing a great job. And everybody, this is TrueAnon for those of you who don't know. And I've talked before in the past about your Elon Musk coverage as well. I think that was when I was like, yeah, I got to bite the bullet. I got to give you guys $5 a month, This is so,
Thank
yeah, I became a Patreon subscriber.
Aw,
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I'm lending it out at very favorable interest rates to myself, to people in desperate need.
Following your grandfather's footsteps.
Exactly. Well, I gotta eat, or I'm gonna pass out from what's the thing where you get low blood that low blood sugar.
I don't know, but I do too. I'm in the same situation. I thought I could have like a big bite in the beginning, and then I was like, I'm talking with food in my mouth. This is so rude. I can't do this. So,
in fact, where the societies that I traffic in, that's actually the most polite way to talk.
Oh my god.
I love to be in the presence of a true masticator with a nice thick chop, possibly covered in some extra sugary applesauce. The gourmand loves to eat a buttery piece of corn like this.
oh, I feel like it would be too lowbrow for him, but
Well, it's corn. It's like Goldschlager corn, where every other kernel is like a gold nugget.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thanks a lot for coming on, guys.
All right,
This was
Playboy.
wonderful. Even though you went to Chapo first, and I will never forget that.
We're on a different schedule. We had to.
I feel you. I feel you.
I had to. Who would get madder at me if I changed it? And they would be more mad about it.
I know.
Which is actually a compliment for you.
Yeah, that means I'm just a more reasonable person, of course.
Literally does.
No, I'm just kidding. It's all good. And thanks a lot for coming on. And hopefully we'll see you guys soon again.
Yes, anytime.
All right.
See ya.
Perfect. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Hey, if you like this video, please subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss out on any future videos.